Archaeology today is now dead. Rest in peace. The grave is right below our very feet. The grave marker is there, and what we once thought of archaeology is no longer the case. We grew up envisioning that archaeologists are working around the clock, around the globe at mysterious ancient sites and digging up to discover the mysteries of our lost ancient past. And what have I have learned in the last number of years since I went down this path of investigating the mysteries of lost ancient civilizations and started making YouTube videos sharing these findings, is that what I thought to be true is so much different than from what reality is today. We live in a time where the oldest and most mysterious archaeological sites on Earth are not being excavated. And I will have some cases in point in this video. We live in a time where a vast majority of people that go to school to get degrees in archaeology or anthropology will never work on an archaeological excavation in their entire careers. In fact, many of them would be lucky to even get a low-paying job at a community college or a small-level university. I say that with respect. This is to no fault of archaeologists. It's no fault of their own. Many people make excuses to say, why is there a lack of excavations and archaeological digs around the world? And most people will say, oh, it's just a lack of funding. If you believe that, you are sorely mistaken. There is no shortage of money in this world. I know some people listening to this might have financial issues. They're like, what are you talking about? I need some money. I'm telling you right now, we all understand that there's no shortage of money in the grand scheme of things. That when the powers that be and various governments and industries and corporations, when they want to throw money at something that they want to do, they do it. That being said, if you've been following my channel over just the last few months, you would have seen me brought attention to the numerous issues involving the two oldest and most mysterious ancient sites on Earth, Göbekli Tepe and Gadang Padang. Now, when I say oldest, Göbekli Tepe is dated at approximately 11,600 years old. And yes, there are a few other sites in Turkey that are dated a couple thousand years older. However, Göbekli Tepe hasn't been fully excavated, and that dating of 11,600 years is just what we know today. It is very possible, in fact, even reasonable to suggest that it's the same date as those other sites, and we will not know until we further excavate it. But the site of Gadang Padang in Indonesia is something I'll talk about later in this video, as well as another mystery within Egypt that nobody has really been talking about for the last several years. I made a video on it, and I'm going to be talking about that big controversy later in this video as well. But I'd like to start off by discussing Gadang Padang. Or excuse me, I meant to say Göbekli Tepe. So, if you've been following my last few videos, you've heard me bring to attention that excavations are now at a almost standstill in the context of that there is no plan to fully excavate that site within any of our lifetimes. I have never stated that excavations had stopped entirely, and I point that out because many of my skeptics and people in the media are saying that, no, this is fake news. Excavations have not stopped. Go listen to what I said in my videos. I have never stated that excavations had stopped. What I have said is that they have pulled back excavations and deferred a full excavation of that site to future generations. And in fact, it's in writing that they say that it may be 150 years before that site is fully dug up. To put that into perspective, into generations, that equates to your great, 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 great grandchildren that will cover a span of 150 years into the future. They will be the ones, as of today, to finally see what is waiting to be discovered within Göbekli Tepe. That site is made up of approximately 200 T-shaped pillars, and that's according to ground penetrating radar. And only 72 of those pillars have been unearthed. And all of these pillars are telling us a story. If you look at them, they're all depicting animals and various things. And even Pillar 43, which is the most famous, has created so much debate and controversy over the years with different ideas of what it could mean. And that's just one pillar. 72 pillars out of 200 means that there's approximately 128 pillars buried under the ground that are indefinitely postponed to be unearthed. And everybody is wondering, what is Göbekli Tepe? Is it a time capsule that was purposely buried to warn us of future cataclysmic events? Is it related to something in the Bible in the story of Noah having built an altar where he sacrificed animals after he emerged from the ark? Some of these ideas people think is so far-fetched and it may be the furthest thing from the truth, but it doesn't matter. What matters is finding out, digging, and finding out exactly what the answers are. And although I don't like to use the word impossible, because what's impossible? People would have thought that televisions were impossible before they were invented. People would have thought airplanes were impossible, cell phones, even the internet. So the word impossible is a word that I don't like to include in my vocabulary. However, as of today, it is an accurate statement to say that it is impossible to know what Göbekli Tepe is until it is fully excavated, or at least further excavated to where we can identify what the answer is, because as of today, nobody knows. It's just nothing more than debate and conjecture. Like I said, when I got into this realm, I never could have imagined that the state of modern archaeology could be in such disarray as it is today. In fact, it's almost become, dare I say, a cult. Not every archaeologist is in a cult, okay? But there seems to be this groupthink that has emerged to where I have presented a very logical, cohesive argument that there is an issue with excavations involving Göbekli Tepe. Yes, I've brought other conspiracy into it, whether it involves certain members of the World Economic Forum that have infiltrated the management of that site because through funding, through the Doges group. I've already talked about that. And that's not what this video is about. So let's put the conspiracy aside, because that's what most people will disagree on. But the facts of the matter, which are, of course, facts, are being completely dismissed and overlooked and otherwise not discussed in any capacity by any archaeologists out there from what I've seen. I have identified that there have been destroyed ruins at that site while they've set up the infrastructure of the roads, sidewalks, viewing platforms, and roof systems. That is a fact. Other archaeologists have seen it for themselves and reported on the great controversy that there was destroyed ruins there. Others involving that site have denied it, but it's there for all who have eyes to see. The pictures are there. They laid concrete on top of ruins. I have brought attention to the fact that trees exist at that site, that there's 4 separate orchards that consist of several hundred trees that were indeed planted on top of ancient ruins. Those roots of trees are notorious for destroying ancient ruins. And it's reasonable to say that that will happen at Göbekli Tepe. Now, the other side will tell you that no, we're monitoring the site. We're making sure those roots are going to damage it. And those roots should grow horizontally, so it shouldn't be a factor. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But it certainly puts those ruins in jeopardy. But let's just say the roots are not going to cause damage. If nothing else, the planting of those trees signifies the lack of any type of plan whatsoever to fully excavate the site. Now, the devil's advocate, or let me just say the naysayers will say, no, 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 no. The people that manage excavations at Göbekli Tepe are not the ones that planted them. It was the landowners themselves that did so. But let's look at what we know. Those trees were planted a literal decade after excavations began at Göbekli Tepe. And there's something about that that makes no sense. The powers that be within Turkey say, oh, it was the landowners did it to increase the value of the land. And I'm like, huh. I may have not studied archaeology or anthropology, but I did study business. And I know that there's something off about the statement that they're trying to increase the land at a site that has the world's oldest and most mysterious ancient ruins on it. That site is invaluable. It's priceless. And if you were to put a dollar amount on it, it would be so many millions of dollars. Like if they were to auction off Göbekli Tepe to the highest bidder, what do you think that would go for? Serious money. And the fact that there's olive trees there is not going to increase that value. I've also come to learn, and this is not in my prior videos, but I did discuss it in a live stream a week ago, as I found out through somebody leaving a comment, that there is a law within Turkey that dates back to the 1930s. It's called the olive tree law. And what it does is it is illegal to cut down olive trees in the country of Turkey. Did you know that? I was alarmed when I found that out. The people on the other side, when they try to justify the existence of those olive trees, will say, oh, well, don't worry, we can remove those and that's not going to stop us from excavating. Okay, well, let's talk business for a second. In the business world, if you say you're going to do something, the executives will ask you, okay, what's the time frame on that? What do you need to do it and when's it going to happen? As of today, there is no plan in place whatsoever to remove those several hundred trees that are on top of ancient ruins. As of today, it is an indefinite standstill, and it is impossible to dig up the site without the removal of those ruins. It's impossible to dig up the site without the removal of the roads and the concrete sidewalks and viewing platforms and roofs. Speaking of roofs, I've been in contact with, let's call this person a whistleblower out of Turkey. It's somebody that has a very close connection to that site. And this individual has wished to remain anonymous, but what they have shared with me is that there are significant problems involving one of the roofs at that site. That nobody is digging under it because it's on the verge of collapse because it was installed with shoddy craftsmanship. That in itself has never been reported on. I don't hear any archaeologists discussing it, although that there are people within that site that 100% know it, such as the director of fieldwork, Dr. Lee Clairol, he's the head of fieldwork and the research team. The director of the site is a gentleman by the name of Dr. Nekmi Karul. These gentlemen that are in charge, that have responded to my controversies that I brought to light involving these videos, have spoken out and basically denied every single thing that I've had to say. At no point have they addressed the true controversies. One, that there is no plan to excavate it within our lifetime, which is a complete disservice and is entirely unacceptable. How can any enthusiast of lost ancient history be content on living the rest of their lives not knowing what's waiting to be discovered under the ruins of Göbekli Tepe? How could any of them be content with destroyed ruins themselves? How could they be content with the fact that excavations are being inhibited? If anything, you'd think they would say, yes, we would like to dig up this site, but we just don't have the resources or the permission to do so. What they have said themselves, including Dr. Lee Clair, has said that he has no desire to do it. He has literally stated, as I shared in my prior video, I shared the receipts because I communicated with him directly on x.com, is that he doesn't even think that it should be fully excavated. He thinks that they should wait until the future when future technologies emerge to more safely dig up the ruins. And I'm like, this sounds like gaslighting. That doesn't make sense. We already have the technological capabilities to dig up an ancient ruin. We've already done the other 72 ruins safely. You have heard no problem or controversy involving them, digging up the site and be like, dang it, we broke another T-pillar. We have to stop. We need to ascertain and assess what's going on here involving our excavation methods. Guys, they have water hoses and pressure hoses. They have paintbrushes. They have shovels. Like, are we going to pretend that we're waiting for the miraculous invention of a new type of shovel or paintbrush? This is BS. We absolutely have the technological capability to unearth that site. And it is inexcusable to suggest otherwise. We have ground penetrating radar that shows us what's under the ground and we can safely navigate from there. And they are also saying that no, excavations haven't stopped. We are doing them today. Okay, well, if that's the case, then are you admitting that you were doing so with unsafe methods before the discovery of this alleged technology that you hope exists someday in the future? That is complete BS. Now, before I finish that thought and go on to the mystery involving Egypt that I mentioned earlier in this video, let me very quickly mention the sponsor of this video, and then I will get on to that mystery from here. Do you get stressed because your monthly income just doesn't seem to cover the bills anymore? Well, you are not alone. Most Americans feel this way every day. Everything is still ridiculously expensive, and we're all reaching more and more for credit cards to cover the basics like childcare, insurance, power, and food. It's tough. If you're feeling this way, you need to call my friends at American Financing. They're helping hardworking Americans just like you tap into their home equity to pay off their high interest debt and even create some additional savings to be ready for whatever life throws your way. With interest rates dropping, a company like American Financing that never charges any upfront or hidden fees is the perfect partner to help you get a better financial position. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving homeowners over $800 a month on average. Waiting is not an option. Call today. You may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. call 866-889-4244. That's 866-889-4244, or visit americanfinancing.net/brightinsight. That's americanfinancing.net/brightinsight. Link is in the description below. As I was mentioned earlier in the video, there's a controversy within Egypt that nobody's discussing. 7 years ago in 2017, the Scan Pyramid Project identified a mysterious void in the Great Pyramid above the so-called Grand Gallery, and is approximately the same size of the Grand Gallery. Many have suggested that there's a second Grand Gallery above the Grand Gallery. Guys, that was 7 years ago. I made a video on it. I even suggested 7 years ago when I made that video that they should drill a 1-inch diameter hole straight up, stick a camera through it to find out what it is. What's waiting to be discovered in there? We don't even know what the Great Pyramid was. No, I do not think it was built to be a tomb for a pharaoh. I think it was a technological structure that far exceeds our understanding of technology today. That's debatable. Even if you think it was purposely made to bury a king, well then there could be a mummy waiting to be discovered in there. There could be anything waiting to be discovered in there. There could be answers to how the pyramid was constructed in the first place, which is another total mystery. And we will never know what that mystery is until we go find out. So please, somebody explain to me how it's been 7 years and they still haven't gone looking in there. That makes absolutely no sense. Are they hiding something? Are they just wanting to rack up more tourism dollars by paying for tourist groups to go through and have private permission in the Great Pyramid for several $1,000s a pop? That brings me back to Göbekli Tepe. Never mind the WEF conspiracy I brought out. You want to know what it is, if nothing else? If absolutely nothing else, the situation in Göbekli Tepe is that they invested millions of dollars for tourism infrastructure, and now it's a cash cow. Just a few years ago, Göbekli Tepe was making, or only had 19,000 something tourists per year. Now it's at nearly 500,000. Each one of them is buying a ticket at the ticket booth to enter the site, and now it is a cash cow bringing in millions and millions and millions of dollars a year, not including whatever they charge for concessions and buying bottles of water and everything, t-shirts and everything else there. It seems to me that archaeology has been corrupted or mismanaged by people that are incompetent and not capable of managing an archaeological site. Whether it's the Great Pyramid of Giza, whether it's Göbekli Tepe or Gunung Padang, like I mentioned earlier in this video. In Indonesia, a potential 27,000-year-old pyramid, or pyramidal structure, let's say. Many people dispute and say there's no evidence of that. That is another case where the word impossible now must be invoked, because there, according to scientific measurement, i.e. ground-penetrating radar, there could be a possible man-made chamber and tunnel underneath the ground there. And geologists that are actual experts at looking at ground-penetrating radar have said that the data strongly suggests that that structure is likely man-made. And there is, as of today, absolutely no plan in place to excavate that tunnel and chamber. Some people say, oh, it's probably just a lava tube, natural anomaly. And some people feel convinced that it's something related to our ancient past. And if it's 27,000 years old, that would stand to rewrite human history forever. Just like potentially discovering whatever Göbekli Tepe truly is. What I'm trying to tell you today, and the purpose of this video, is that there are actual mysteries involving our lost ancient past that are waiting to be discovered. There are God knows how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of archaeologists around the world that would jump on the opportunity to take part in the excavation of these sites. God knows how many people would throw their money at it to do so. We have the means, money, and the motive to do so, and it's not happening. We have to start asking why this is, and this is why I say that archaeology is dead, because if we're not excavating, it's dead. And I already know what the naysayers and devil's advocates to me will say. They'll say, we are doing excavations. You're just not patient enough. I'm like, stop. Just stop. That's not what's happening. There's no plan to fully excavate Gunung Padang, and there's no plan in our lifetime to fully excavate Göbekli Tepe. There's no date that they're going to finally drill into the Great Pyramid to discover what that void is. Everything's at a standstill. Nothing's happening. The wheels aren't moving. Like I said, I didn't study archaeology, but I studied business. And I'm telling you right now, if there's no plan in place, it's not happening. That's it. So with that said, I wanted to put this video out there to wake everybody up to understand that this is an issue that I feel like can unite humanity. This could unite the conspiracy theorists, the archaeologists, the alternative ancient historians, to all come together and say, hey, we want to see further excavation of these sites. We can all debate till we're blue in the face about what they are and to discuss the possibility of a lost ancient advanced civilization. We can debate all that, but none of us will ever know what the truth is until these sites are properly excavated, and it is intolerable that we could possibly live the rest of our lives not knowing what these answers are. What are we doing? Tomorrow's not even promised. What is going on? This makes my conspiracy wheels moving because it makes absolutely no sense. If there was a lack of money, they would say it. You'd have these directors out of Göbekli Tepe saying, we don't have the funds. They have the funds. Egypt has no short of funding. Egypt has plenty of money. That is not an issue. Did you know that Indonesia, because I mentioned Gunung Padang, at one point they said that they were willing to allocate, this is as of 2014, so 10 years ago, they were willing to allocate, quote, unlimited funding and resources to excavate that site, and something shifted. That's no longer the case. What happened? Guys, this is a problem. I know it in everything in me that something is wrong here, and I don't see how anyone could possibly disagree that not excavating the most mysterious ancient sites on Earth is not a problem. So I'm calling on everybody to start speaking out and demanding further excavation of these sites. It is only through the power of public persuasion and the court of public opinion, as it's often called, that any chance of change could possibly be made. And so that's what I want to leave you with today. I'm going to be doing a live stream here in just the next 2 hours. And I encourage you to tune in because I'm going to be discussing further about this as well as answering questions and reading comments about it. This is something that people need to wake up to. So I hope you join me on that live stream. My name is Jimmy Corsetti. My channel is called Bright Insight. Hit the like button and subscribe. If you want to support me and what I'm doing and have an actual help in my life, consider supporting me on locals.com or patreon.com, preferably locals. Follow me on rumble.com. Follow me on x.com, formerly known as Twitter. Do these things and help me grow to further put out the word on these lost ancient mysteries and the controversies that surround them. With that said, I'm going to close this up, and I want to thank you all for your time. I hope you'll leave a comment sharing where your thoughts are on all of this. Take care, everybody.